Hey, what is up, guys? My name is Savage Brick Gaming, and today I'm going to be doing a commentary explanation for the Spore segmented speedrun. Because I know a lot of people are going to be confused as to a lot of the stuff I do here, so I better give an explanation. So this intro I included just because I thought it would look cool and be like this cool intro to the game. I just spliced in after all the segments were done. Okay, so this is going to be played offline, so I don't download any user-made creations, so, yeah, there's that. Now, before we jump into Cell Stage, I want to explain what type of cells I'm going to be using for the Cell Stage. Now, there are 3 cells that work with our route, and they are both 2-eyed herbivores, so you can remove one of the eyes to get an extra 5 DNA points. They're called Sporo, Dolb, and Lubo. Now we'll never use, we don't use Sporo for runs because it's kind of hard to remove that small eye, so we often use Dolb and Lubo. And whatever one comes up first when we are selecting the cell, we often use. So I went with Dolb because that was the first one I got. Okay, so about this cutscene right here, if I wait through a little bit of this cutscene, I'll actually get a speed boost out of the meteor. Now the timing for this run is calculated from when we first skip the cutscene, and instead of usual full game runs, which are timed from when you click the blue arrow to start Cell Stage, which allows us to do this little boost. And if you don't wait through part of the cutscene, then you won't get that speed boost, as I'm demonstrating here in this other demo. And if you don't skip the cutscene at all, you still get the speed boost, but you'll have to play through this part of the game like normal instead of having to only eat 5 food. Instead you have to eat 9 food, which takes a lot longer. And so that's why we skip the cutscene like that. Okay, so back to this run. Since we only have one singular flagella propelling us, it's faster that we move in straight lines rather than turning around everywhere, because turning will slow you down at this stage of a game. So, yeah. And then right here, I call for mate while I'm growing, and what that does is it puts my mate right next to me. And here I add an extra mouth, and what I did there was I press enter to bring up the name window, typed one character in, press enter again. So yeah, that was a quick use of hotkeys, in which there are actually a lot of them. There are actually around 30 keys we can utilize throughout this run, and I'll tell you every time that I do use one of the hotkeys, so you'll know. So right now is probably a good time for me to explain how I'm segmenting this run. So usually what I do is I play through the segment, and then when I'm at the end of the segment, I press escape, and then I stop the recording. And then what I do is I go out of the game into my files, and I check what time I got for that segment, and if it's good, if I want to keep that segment, then I keep the video and I save in-game, and then I exit and keep the save file, and then I keep trying the segments from there. So that's how this run is segmented, just so you know. What I also should note is anytime that I have at the end of the game in the menu escaped isn't counted in the final time, because it's not really part of the game you normally experience. And neither are the hatching cutscenes at the front of cell segments, because those aren't really part of the game you usually count, unless it's out of an editor, in which case I do count it. So back to this segment. The reason why I ate all but 1 food to grow is because usually when you grow, you get better cell spawns and food spawns. And as you can see here, I'm going to grow and I'm going to get some better cell spawns. You actually see small cells for once. But I also need to get one of the booster cells to get the jet part, which we'll need for later. Now this segment was probably the hardest one in the whole run, because you have to get the booster part, which is sometimes really hard to do. It's random whether or not it spawns or not. Then I also have to put it on. And yeah, that's that segment. So this next segment, I have to get a one of the cilia parts, which you get from there, and that's it. Okay, so on this next segment, a few things have to happen. First, I'll break it down real quick, but there's a reason why I had to do this in one segment. So first I have to be facing the right way, and your cell faces a random way when it spawns in. And that was sometimes a problem, because in some segments they had to wait for him to turn around. And here what I do is I do an infinite boost glitch, where if I call mate, and here I eat a food because I need one food in order to have enough DNA. But in order to do the infinite boost glitch, you have to call for a mate while your boost is at its peak, and that will maintain your speed. Also, I had to have my mate go spawn where I was going to make it fast. And so yeah, this segment took around 50 attempts to do. However, facing the right way is no longer a problem since I got the cilia. The reason why I got the cilia is because of faster turns, and it makes doing the boosts really easy to control. So right there I did sort of a failed boost, but it isn't always necessary. And here I sort of clumped two segments into one to prevent me from, because of like the food spawns that I mentioned earlier. Picking up a part will cause a small animation to happen, but the reason why that cell didn't drop a part there is because of the meteorite. If there's a meteorite on screen, you won't get any parts spawning, which could sometimes be really annoying. Okay, right here I got really lucky. Look at that. And I don't want to pick up the part there because, once again, it causes an animation to happen. This segment's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so in this segment, what I want is I want a Mostel. What the Mostel does is it not only drops the 3 food that a normal cell would drop, it also drops eggs. And these eggs can be eaten with any type of mouth. You can't see the eggs because of the blood in the water that's blocking it. Okay, so now we're on to creature stage. Now, this leg I can separate into legs and arms by pressing control on that bottom joint. I don't need that mouth. But I do need that booster and that cilia from before for the beginning, because it's really important. So before I go into creature stage, I'm going to go over a few tricks I used here. Number 1 is the double fly boost. Now usually flying doesn't actually increase your speed, but if you fly with a creature selected in front of you, for some reason it's faster. It's as fast as sprinting, as I found. Now this works with jumping and gliding, which is another form of jumping. However, if you pause, you can do both of these at once. So in order to do a double fly boost, you select a creature in front of you, jump twice while paused, and there you go. Now, there are a few problems with this, one of which I'll show now. One of them is, if you flap your wings again while you have a creature selected in front of you, you'll go back to the original speed. Now, the solution to this is you can press escape after you've done the boost, and so that the creature isn't selected in front of you anymore. Another way is to fly past the creature, so it's no longer selected in front of you, it's now selected behind you. Now, both of these work for longer distance fly boosting. Also, a fly boost won't work if you're too close to the creature. The next trick is called befriend skipping. Now, usually if you want to befriend a creature, you have to walk up to them, ask to befriend them, then do whatever they do. However, it's possible to skip both of these, and here's how. Now, if you're mid-air while you ask them, it will skip the asking animation entirely. However, if you jump right after you press the key to ask them, it will immediately start the befriending. Now, once you start befriending, if you jump after you started the animation for whatever they do, to imitate whatever they do, if you do that, your bar at the top where it tracks your befriending will immediately go up to where it should end up, essentially skipping the animation, and it makes it so that your reaction time isn't as much of a factor. Now, if you combine these, you can actually ally creatures really fast. Now, there are a few problems with this. Once again, if you're too close to the creature, you will not be able to jump. The last trick I'll talk about here is called quick mating. Now, usually when you want to mate and go into the editor, you're going to have to walk up to them and click on your mate. However, what you can do instead is if you look away from your mate or to the side, you can click on them and then immediately jump, and you could go into the editor like that. And this is really useful. And this actually works from pretty far away too. As long as you can click on your mate, it will work. So that's all the tricks out of the way I want to explain. So back to the run. Now I need to quickly talk about consequence traits. So when you evolve from Cell Stage and go into an editor, you have a certain types of mouths you can choose, either herbivore, carnivore, or omnivore, and this is because of how you acted in Cell Stage. Basically what type of food you ate. But this also gives you a special ability which you can activate pressing F1. And for omnivore, that would be summon flock. For the ones for herbivore and carnivore are not very useful, but for omnivore you get a summon flock ability, which allows you to basically summon your whole flock of creatures that'll help you befriend, which is what I did here, which allows me to basically go through these nests instantly. Okay, so here most of these choices are self-explanatory, except for these feet. Now these feet I get 2 of because I need charge and dance. Also, I use the one with 1 dance rather than the one with 2 dance because the one with 1 dance has a higher sprint level. And the reason why I don't do that with my hands is because if you do it with your hands, it'll make it really hard to unlock other hands later for some odd reason. So right here I immediately activate Summon Flock and I immediately add one of my creatures to my posse, then I immediately go back and do a double fly boost off of them. Now, I go to this nest here to get some DNA from allying them. And here I do double fly boost off of this creature. I know what he does because I can listen to him. If he sings, I can hear it, but if he charms, I can't hear it. And I know he only has sing or charm. Now, these ones were pretty good. I think this the rest of the segment is pretty self-explanatory. Well, one thing to note, if you do a double fly boost while befriending one of the creatures, if you get too far away from them, sometimes it will cancel the befriending, which almost happens later in the segment. Right here, I almost got too far away from this creature. So this one, so I know he danced because I was listening, but here I sang because I just guessed. And I'm all the way at my nest now. Okay, so now I have to explain the Summon Flock manipulation I did. So, as you recall, Summon Flock is this ability that summons basically a flock of creatures to help you fight or ally. And turns out you can actually get your own creatures into this. However, it requires you to create a copy of your creature and have it summoned. Okay, so here instead of doing a double fly boost to this nest, I just did regular fly boosting. And the reason why I allied this nest, even though it doesn't give me much DNA, is because I actually need one of the parts from this guy. And here's another variation of the befriend skipping. And as I mentioned before, the Summon Flock manipulation allows you to get your own creatures through Summon Flock. So I activate it here, and hey, doesn't that creature look familiar? Yep, that's your own creature. The reason why the Summon Flock manipulation is important is because there are a set number of creatures that can be summoned through Summon Flock on default with no extra creations in your Sporepedia. However, these creatures usually don't have that high of an attack level, so doing this gives you a better flock for attacking and killing. Okay, so I actually needed my flock to follow me to this next nest, so instead of double boosting, I instead just sprint flied over. Now this nest was actually really hard to do in practice, because these creatures have a level 10 attack, which I can tell from the Sporepedia card that appears when I click on them. And yes, I do kill this baby right here. Sad. I also want to kill the alphas because they get me parts. And so onto this nest right here. I had a cool audio glitch here where the dramatic music stacked upon itself. It sounded super funny. Okay, this creature right here, as you see, I just saw a creature just died right in front of me, and I didn't get credit for it. I think the reason for that is when you do strike, it actually does a little bit of splash damage around you. Also, you can do a double boost off of flying away bodies. But anyway, if you kill a creature through the splash damage, you don't get credit for that kill, which is kind of stupid. Now, I arrived at my nest at a very inopportune time because it's where when the meteor shower is occurring. And there pretty much is no way to avoid the meteor shower because it's pretty much going to occur every game you play. There isn't a way to skip it yet. There's no way to interact with any creatures until that meteor hits the ground, so I just thought I'd get a part, because why not? Now, out of all segments I did, this is the only one I don't have a copy of. All other segments I kept a copy of so I can possibly go back and redo them later, but this is the only one that I don't have one of because I accidentally got rid of it. So yeah, I pretty much had to deal with it. And there was a big mistake at the end of this. I actually ended the segment way too early, and what that meant is one of my pack members was still a baby, so I basically had to add 2 creatures to my pack here, and had to get rid of one on the side. So yeah, that was kind of dumb. I should also go back and explain this. Something weird happened here. I'm not really sure what caused it. So usually with this creature, when I allied him before, the bar would usually only go just as high as where he went, or sometimes even half as high. For some reason here, it went double as far as it should have gone, which I don't know why. If I were able to recreate that, it would be really useful. So yeah. So back here, when I activate my summon flock here, I made sure to look to the side in order to do it, because it appears in front of you a good distance. This was to make sure they had enough room to charge in on these creatures. Now in this segment I'm looking to unlock 2 parts. One of them I just unlocked is the feat that makes you move faster. That would really help in Tribal Stage. And the other one is Strike 5, which I will unlock later in this segment. Now coming up here is going to be a small trick I borrowed from Galactic Adventures. If I spam the mating call, I can fly with less delay in between. Now this rogue right here caused me a lot of trouble during this run, because sometimes it would spawn in and walk the opposite way, which wouldn't be ideal. Right, so the spaceship is going to appear right here. There really isn't a way to avoid having the spaceship appear here unless you somehow complete the stage a lot faster than this, which we don't know how to do yet. But now what I had to do is I had to kill all the creatures from this nest while they were trying to run away from that spaceship. And the spaceship will try to hover around you. Oh, and right here I have to make that my nest for Tribal and Civ Stage. Now for the most part this went really well, a lot better than some of my other attempts. Except for this last one, which was really stupid. I had to follow him around. Yeah. I also made a mistake by ending the segment too early here, so what that meant is I couldn't actually progress into the next stage unless I earned more DNA, and, well, look at here, there's another creature right here. And that solves it. So now I'm adding the 2 parts I mentioned earlier that I unlocked, and I'm also going to remove my wings here because sometimes wings will make it so that your creatures won't get set faster for allying tribes. Also, we're going to ally all tribes in this stage because destroying tribes takes a lot longer. Now right here I'm going to start by creating a baby and going into the tribal editor to add 2 parts. Now part of this exiting the editor isn't counted because it's considered a load. Now what those 2 parts do, one of them makes it so that the bar goes up further when you're allying tribes, and one of them allows you to get 8 food per food dish rather than the default 5. There really isn't much to explain here, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Now, a few of the hotkeys I use, if you press space while you have a tribe member selected, your camera will automatically pan to that tribe member. And also if you press Control A, you will select all your tribe people. Now I'm not getting as many babies as I usually would because, well, this is segmented. I can take riskier strats. Now one thing to note here, after you've allied one of the tribes, after you finish doing it, you have to click on the ground somewhere and then restart it up again. However, in later segments, I skip this by saving and loading, which is partially why there's so many segments in Tribe Stage. It's possible to look back on the tribe while doing this. Okay, so usually after you've allied a tribe, all your tribe will freeze and celebrate, except for the Chiefian, who for some reason can still move. But usually the instrument players will just stay there for around 5 seconds. However, if you save and load, this won't happen, so yeah. Now this species of creature I made extinct in Creature Stage, which is why they have that red face on them. Because that carries over. This probably could have been faster, I admit. I'm going to fast forward here again, because there really isn't much to explain here. The reason why I kill here for food is because it's a lot faster than gathering. But we only need to kill around once during this tribe stage run, so that's why we don't do it again. So here I go ally this other tribe. Now, I actually unlocked the maraca instrument. However, I'm not going to use maracas to ally them. And by how I did that is I just kept resetting and hoping for good luck. Now I will get a maraca after this, because hoping for all wooden flutes while there's 3 instruments they could pick from would be insane. It'd be something like a 1 in 80 chance of that happening, which isn't too far-fetched, but still too much for basic convenience. So anyway, right here I'm going to be giving a gift to this pink tribe. However, I do not have enough food to get a gift. So instead I'm just going to move my one of my tribesmen over there in preparation and give it once I have enough food. Now I actually went a bit too close here, which wasn't my intention, but it wasn't a mistake. And you'll see why in a second. Right here the chief is going to hit me, and then I'm going to pull out the gift, and that's what that's going to cause. It's going to cause the chief to just stop there. Now, as you saw, that that tribe was battling this epic, and usually the chief would join in on them, but if he's far enough away, he wouldn't. And this segment took a while to do. And the reason why I segmented right here is because it wouldn't always work when I try to ally him. And once again, here I'm going to move one of my creatures over to the tribe in preparation. Alright, so I'm just going to speed up through the rest of this stage, because there really isn't much to explain. Did make a small mistake here with the menuing, but I wasn't going to bother doing another one of those segments because those are kind of rare. In this coming up section, there's a common mistake where when selecting my tribesmen, I skipped over one of them, but that didn't really hurt me too much. Now I tried to get a tribesman that was a bit far away for this one, but I didn't get very lucky. It's always faster to press 1 or 2 members of the tribe you're allying rather than a whole bunch of them. And that's because the amount your bar goes up is depend on how many tribesmen you're allying and how many prompts they give for that one instrument. So sometimes if you get like 4 people asking for one instrument, that will not work out very well. Now, this is a really good location for the last tribe. Because sometimes in my full game runs, what will happen is the last tribe will spawn like all the way across the map, and you have to spend like a minute walking over there, but this is nice. I like this. And alright, we're about done with tribe stage, and next stage we go on to is the civilization stage. Now, in the civilization stage, I have pre-made vehicles made with high speed stats and high religious power stats. We're going to be a religious civilization. Now here I skip this cutscene, I press B to open up the Sporepedia, where I select one of my buildings that I copied from Maxis, and that vehicle I made. Now religious is the fastest of the 3 methods of taking over cities. Military is kind of fast, economic is not fast at all. So we're not going to use either of those. Now immediately I go into my city planner I select a ship as well, because I'm going to need one of those for the ocean geysers. Now I should also explain the world layout. There are only 15 world layouts the game can pick from, and supposedly the one I'm using would be the fastest because it has 6 land geysers and 5 water geysers, totaling 11 geysers that you can claim right away, which is more than any other planet layout. So supposedly this one is the fastest. Now there isn't much to explain here, we're just claiming geysers and stuff. Now, I can actually tell from the lines on the world where all I need to look for is a tribe inside one of the areas closed off from any geysers or other tribes. And I know that one's going to be a city. So after one of my vehicles is done with their spice geysers, I wait till I have 3,000 Spore bucks and I create 3 vehicles and I send all 4 of them to the first city. And this city I'll start taking over with my vehicles, and then I'll switch my vehicles to my vehicle to a more powerful one with higher religious power. And what that means is I could take over a city really fast. Like, that fast. And there really isn't much more to explain other than that. So I'm going to fast forward through the rest of the stage. I'll explain small things as I go, such as how I group up my vehicles before I take over cities, because that makes it slightly faster to take it over. Also, if you have one of the vehicles from the other civilization attacking you, that also slows it down. Now right here I buy around 4 boats and I make them all go over here where 2 cities are going to spawn. Also, you may notice I'm zooming in on a few cities that I'm taking over. That's because it's kind of weird sometimes. If you're taking over a city, the game won't acknowledge it until you look at the city, and then it'll start taking it over. So yeah, that's why I do that. Now the way I just delete my vehicles really fast is also there I did a different method of switching vehicles where I use my arrow keys to switch between the cards. But anyway, to delete my vehicles, I press delete then enter while having them selected on my sidebar. Now here I have to zoom in on that city or else it won't start conquering. But here, after I finally take over this city, I have to hope that the last city will surrender, and so I won't have to take it over, and it did. Okay, so now on to Space Stage. Now this stage is going to require a lot of explaining to do. First, I press B to go and select a spaceship that I stole from Maxis. I thought looked cool. And also, I'm holding my mouse in a specific spot, so when it spawns in, I can press Y and immediately start selecting the right prompts to not do the tutorial. Now then I go to the tutorial planet, which is in every person's galaxy. It's always the same in everyone's galaxy, and what I can do is I can turn. Also, you scan faster if you spam click it, but if you turn your camera before you go onto a planet, it can change where you drop down on that planet. So I turned to make it so that I spawn closest to that ship. Okay, so right here I go between these 2 stars over and over again to get the frequent flyer badge, which will allow me to buy the interstellar drives that I need to go to the center of the galaxy. Now this is kind of hard because you have to be clicking between 2 sort of moving points, but what I did here is I lowered my sensitivities, which made it slightly easier. Now this took me around slightly under 40 seconds, and it was around, you have to click it between them around 150 times, which equates to around 3.5 clicks per second, which is not too bad if I say so myself. Now since the goal is 150, I could have gone to 145 and gotten the 5 other things later, but I decided not to. It wasn't worth it. Also, you probably saw that I turned while entering the star there. That's because, well, you'll see when I get back out. You'll see that I'm now turning around facing the other way. Now here he's going to give me a mission to place down a colony, but I'm going to reject it because I don't need it. So now what I need an artifact, which I will sell for money. Now this is the hardest space segment because not only do you need an artifact with a high enough value, you need 67,500 or more, which is kind of rare in itself, but you also need it to spawn in a good place on that planet so you don't have to travel so far to get it. And that was a decent artifact. It took like 100 attempts to get that, but whatever. Also, by saving and loading there means I don't have to zoom all the way back out. Skip some of that. Now this right here has got to be some of the greatest menu I've ever done. What I do is I sell the artifact right here by the interstellar drive, but what I did before that is I started a trade route. Right here I was pressing minus and one of the up or down keys, I forget which one, to zoom out and look down at the same time. So why I started that trade route is I need the trader badge, which will allow me to unlock energy packs. Now going between stars takes up energy, so I need to replenish my energy somehow when I'm going through the rocks. So right here on this first stop here, I recharge and start another trade route, and then I immediately reopen that and buy 5 energy packs. Now if you're playing on an older version of the game, you might only be able to buy 1 energy pack at a time, which would be way slower. Another thing to note too is because I got adaptive as my consequence in creature stage, that means my spaceship travels slightly faster between stars. It's only around 33%, but it shaves off around 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds in this run. So right here, I'm going to go to my last stop, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to recharge again, and I'm going to buy 5 energy packs. Then what's going to happen, something interesting, because I earned a badge there, that will reset what they have to sell, so I can immediately go and buy 5 more energy packs. Now, by the way, I'm also using these energy packs while I'm going through these stars here. You just can't see it because my tab is down, my spaceship tab. Now here we encounter the Grox. Now the Grox will not be able to hurt you if you just keep on moving. So yeah, that's what I do. I make sure that I'm not stopped for too long at any star. And that means that they won't be able to hurt me. And sometimes if they are able to hurt you, you can sometimes outrace them. But anyway, we're going to the end here. And also, I'm able to do this with Interstellar Drive 2 because of my specific spot in the galaxy. I don't think I mentioned that before. Here I'm basically just spam clicking on stars, trying to get to the middle of the galaxy. And there we go. We're at the middle of the galaxy, which is sort of the official, unofficial end of the game. It's the ending of the game. Just, yeah. So yeah, that was Spore in 25 minutes. Hope you enjoyed.